Ontario has effectively made a decision and they have proposed a change coming in which would be effective in fall 2026, that even the medical schools, they have been facing inflation. The part of the problem is... Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Kirti the Indo-Canadian Explorer. These days there's a very hot topic, that is Canada shutting doors for their immigrants. As far as I know, Canada has always been a land of immigrants. Canada has always been a country of immigrants from Europe, from South America, from Africa, Asia, everywhere. And I can proudly say as a Canadian that this country is so strong in its integration that everybody feels included here, no matter where they come from. And it is the only country where inclusiveness and diversity is celebrated and everyone is included, no matter where you work, no matter whom you hang out with, no matter where you study. But lately what I have been noticing is, since 2020, when COVID hit us badly, things have been going very tough for Canada and Canadians. When I say that, what I mean by that is they have been facing inflation, they have been facing housing problems, they have been facing a lot of things in terms of healthcare, education, where everything feels like a mess. The part of the problem is, I think some immigration levels have not been considered properly, and that's the reason the immigration was so high that it went past the required immigration. And because of that, the difference between the living wage and the minimum wage of the province is so huge that people have been struggling. And all I think is because of the government's bad policies, the government's bad decisions. And they accepted it too late. They accepted somewhere in December last year where they said, okay, we are going to fix that problem. But when you are fixing a problem, you have to take your time to fix that problem, the mess that has already been created. So the chaos was so much that there were so many videos about international students breaking the rules in Canada and doing the things that they should not be doing. And it definitely offends anyone. Not even Canadians, but anyone. That's not a very civilized behavior that they should indulge in. That's the reason the government started taking some decisions and started acting on few things that, hey, this needs to stop or this needs to be slowed down. That's the reason they started with the international students first, like capping the number of international students, like working with their postgraduate work permit programs. And they even made changes to some of the work hours. These are all the things that started happening in Canada just to benefit Canadians eventually, even though it is too late. Other than the international students, there was something else happening in different provinces across Canada. People from outside this country, they were buying houses and they were putting on rent. And that is the reason that some of the areas where the houses are so expensive that even a high earning person cannot afford a house in Canada. They can only rent. And I know the young people have been struggling for a while, especially for the last 5-6 years in Canada, where they want to buy a house, but they cannot, even after having a good salary. So the government tried cracking down on the foreign investors as well, and they made some changes to buying a house process as well. So they're trying to fix the problems one by one so that the housing can be affordable. The healthcare gets a little more affordable for everyone in a timely manner, in a good quality manner. And at the same time, the immigration level goes down in future. The results will be seen a lot later, but they have started making some changes and they have definitely taken some actions to curb immigration so that the Canadians don't suffer a lot as they have suffered in the last 3-4 years. As we all know, Canada is a very big country full of natural resources, natural beauty, very high standards of living, high standards of healthcare and education. And anyone who lives in Canada can actually see and know it, that this country offers a lot. And since Canadians have been struggling for the last 3-4 years, they are feeling frustrated. Recently, there are topics about the difference between the wages. There's topics that people chat about is affording a house. Canadians have been talking about healthcare issues as well. The wait times have become so long, where you used to go 10 years ago and the doctor would see you in less than 1 hour. Now the waiting time is around 7-8 hours or even more, depending on what the situation of the patient is. So considering all these things, the Canadian government started taking actions too late, but at least they started it. Maybe because there's an election coming up and chances are this current Prime Minister won't be elected again. One of the most recent measures that has been taken is, in some places, the labor market opinion, which is generally known as LMIA, those applications are not going to be processed depending on so many factors and scenarios, depending on what the person is earning, so that the Canadians can actually get more jobs and the unemployment rate for the Canadians goes down. The most recent measure taken by the Canadian government is to pause the family sponsorship, which is for parents and grandparents. I personally feel it is to adjust the targets of the immigration levels, and whatever the government decides, it is only to curb the targets. Another measure taken by the Canadian government was to stop the flag polling. So flag polling was a practice where people would just go to the borders and they would come back to Canada again, and it was a quick processing done at the border crossing. So I personally feel that the people were abusing this system, and Canada government took notice of it and they stopped this practice so that people can actually apply and book an appointment and their processing can be done, thoroughly. So what was happening through the flag polling was there was an extra burden on the border services, and that's the reason the government basically said, okay, we are going to stop this practice. Canadian government took another measure to stop the visitors from applying for a work permit from inside Canada. So this was another practice that people were using. They used to come in as a visitor and they would apply for a work permit from inside Canada. So the government stopped it because it was a temporary thing that started after COVID, because people were already living here. They were not able to fly back and they were looking for work because they couldn't fly back and they couldn't afford. So the government started it as a temporary basis to help people. And I think it was being abused, so the government stopped that. And again, this is a good thing that the Canadian government has done. Other than the federal government, the provinces have also made some changes to limit the international students. The big example that I would like to give here is Ontario has effectively made a decision and they have proposed a change coming in, which would be effective in fall 2026, that even the medical schools, even the medical programs will not be available to international students in 2026. Somewhere in January 2024, the Canadian government also announced that the spouses of international students, some of the international students, they will not be eligible for a spousal open work permit as well, depending on the program that they are studying. So after having discussed these changes, I come back again to the topic that, is Canada trying to shut the doors for immigrants? The answer seems to be yes, because they have been making changes about the visitors, they have been making changes about the international students, they have been making changes towards the family sponsorship program, admission program to the international students, and even to their spouses who are trying to have the open work permits. So these are my thoughts that yes, Canada is trying to correct certain things in its own country. And what are your thoughts? Feel welcome to write in the comment section, but I would just request be respectful, because everyone who sees this video might be looking for some ideas or for information. Please do like, share and subscribe my channel, Kirti the Indo-Canadian Explorer. Have a lovely day ahead. Bye-bye.